The order of operations is a concept that most high school students are familiar with. You may have been taught it once, twice, who knows how many times, but there's a very big difference between having been taught something and mastering something. The order of operations is a skill that many adults even still make common mistakes. There's a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings that go along with the order of operations. Use your prior knowledge to attempt to simplify and evaluate this algebraic expression. Then ask yourself the following questions. Which operation was first? And does the order that you attempt the individual operations matter? Dear Aunt Sally's reign has finally come to a close, mostly because more people can recite, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, than can actually apply, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, to the order of operations. Instead, use the word PEMDAS. PEMDAS stands for 4 different categories of operations, or 4 different steps that you must accomplish in order to fully evaluate and simplify an algebraic expression using the order of operations. The first set of operations that you need to deal with is anything within a set of parentheses. That's the P in PEMDAS. Now, that doesn't refer to just parentheses. It also refers to brackets and the fancy brackets you only bring out when guests are coming. Inside the parentheses, there may be one single operation or multiple operations. If there's more than one operation, you need to follow the order of operations within that parentheses until you've evaluated and simplified that down to one value. The E in PEMDAS stands for exponents. Exponents being examples like 3 squared, -2 to the 4th, -5 to the 4th. So you would take care of all of your parentheses, then go through and simplify or evaluate all exponents before moving forward. The MD in PEMDAS is where a lot of errors occur. The MD stands for multiplication and division. That does not mean that you take care of multiplication and then division. You always go from left to right. Scan your algebraic expression from left to right. You could do division and then multiplication. They're grouped together because they're inverse operations. They do similar activities, but in opposite ways. The AS in PEMDAS stands for addition and subtraction. This is another very common area where a lot of people make mistakes. A lot of people think that you have to do all addition, then all subtraction. The reality is you have to do addition or subtraction from left to right. These are inverse operations as well, so they are lumped together because they do similar but opposite actions. When you apply PEMDAS and the order of operations to an algebraic expression, you can summarize the steps into 3 words: underline, evaluate, rewrite. The first step, you're going to underline the next operation related values according to the order of operations. So if I'm following PEMDAS, the first thing I need to take care of or evaluate is anything in a parentheses. Well, I see 3 plus 3 in a parentheses. Luckily, there's just one operation. Remember, if there's more than one operation, you need to follow the order of operations in the parentheses or grouping symbol until it's simplified down to one value. Step 2. Evaluate the operation. Well, 3 plus 3 is 6. These individual evaluating moments are great calculator moments. Take the time to write out your work, but each time you have to evaluate, try it by hand, maybe challenge yourself, but take the time to check your work with your calculator at each step. Next, you're going to rewrite the rest of the expression. We've only simplified one operation. That's 2 values that simplified down into 1. The rest, including the 3, the minus, the 6, the division symbol, the minus, the 1, that all drops down. A lot of people make mistakes here because they forget to copy down everything. Rewrite everything that's not underlined in the line above, or everything that you didn't just evaluate. Notice how the different colors may help you go through this process. You're going to repeat this process until the expression is completely simplified, meaning it's down to one single value answer. So I'm going to underline, evaluate, and rewrite until I have one answer. Sometimes it helps to write out the word PEMDAS on your paper and cross out each step as you accomplish it. So I've taken care of all the parentheses. On the new line that I evaluated and rewrote, I don't see any parentheses, so I'm done with them. Are there any exponents? I don't see any. Let's look for multiplication or division. Remember, we go left to right. So if I scan left to right, I see 6 divided by 6 is my first multiplication or division operation. So I'm going to underline. 6 divided by 6 is 1. I'm going to evaluate it to get 1, and then I'm going to rewrite everything that didn't get evaluated. I'm going to go from left to right. I'm still on MD. Are there any multiplication or division problems left? Nope. So that's done. Cross it out. Now you know all you have left is addition, subtraction. You go from left to right. So I need to do 3 minus 1 before I do 1 minus 1. So I underline. 3 minus 1 is 2. I evaluate. I rewrite. My last step, because I'm still on addition and subtraction, 2 minus 1, I underline, I evaluate, and I rewrite. I'm officially done with all of my operations. I've crossed out all of PEMDAS, and I have one single value simplified down from an algebraic expression. Notice all of those places where I underlined operations. If your answer does not come out correct, that's where you go back and check. Your work helps you plan out your answer. Even if you use a calculator at each one of those operations, you can go back and double check later. Take a quick think, pair, share moment and answer the question, where do you start this problem? What would be the first operation that you personally would evaluate in this algebraic expression using the order of operations? This algebraic expression has what we would call nested parentheses. We have a set of parentheses inside of a set of brackets. This is similar to Russian nesting dolls, where you can't move from one layer to the next without removing the layer before. However, we're working from the inside out. Think back to those old Tootsie Pop commercials. All they wanted was the Tootsie Roll center. That's where we need to start. Within nested parentheses, you always need to start at the central or innermost set of parentheses. In this case, 2 plus 1. This is twofold, partially because it's a simple rule to remember to start at the innermost parentheses. Also, within those brackets, we're following the order of operations. I see a couple operations. I see 3 times 3, I see subtraction, and I see 2 plus 1 within parentheses. The order of operations would tell me to start at those parentheses either way. So I'm going to take care of 2 plus 1. I'm going to underline, evaluate, and then rewrite everything. The inner parentheses are now gone. We're down to just one set of grouping symbols. And within those brackets, we need to follow the order of operations. So I see no parentheses. I see no exponents. Let's scan from left to right for multiplication division. And within those brackets, I see 3 times 3. So I'm going to underline, evaluate, and then I'm going to rewrite everything. We're still inside those parentheses following the order of operations. We've already taken care of parentheses. There were no exponents. Let's scan for multiplication division. There's none. We only have 9 minus 3. Now, a lot of people would want to divide by 6, but that's still outside the parentheses. We cannot get rid of that grouping symbol. We cannot move out of there until we're done evaluating what's inside. So I'm going to underline, evaluate, rewrite. Now that 9 minus 3 simplified down to one value, those brackets are gone, and we can follow the rest of the order of operations. We've just, for the whole problem, taken care of that first step, that P in PEMDAS, the parentheses. That's where nested parentheses can become very complicated. So remember, always follow the order of operations within the parentheses, or think of it as starting at the center. This leads us to the last operation, division. 6 divided by 6, I underline, I evaluate, I rewrite my final answer. Let's try one more together. I see two different sets of parentheses. Remember, within parentheses, brackets, etc., you need to follow the order of operations within them. So I'm going to start with the first set of parentheses, 2 plus 5 plus 2. I don't see any parentheses in there, so no nested parentheses. I don't see any exponents in the parentheses. Now this is where a lot of people get confused. There is an exponent in this problem. However, we need to take care of everything in that parenthesis until it's down to one value before we can do anything else. So I see no multiplication division in the parentheses, but I do see addition subtraction as I scan from left to right. The very first one, 2 plus 5. So I underline, I evaluate, I rewrite everything, including all parentheses. Anything that I did not just evaluate needs to be written down. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm still in those parentheses. I can't move on to the next step until all parentheses are simplified down. 7 plus 2 gives me 9, so I underline, evaluate, rewrite everything. Now that set of parentheses simplified down to one value. And a lot of students at this point would say, okay, I'm done with parentheses, I'm going to move on to exponents. But there's a whole separate set of parentheses, and we need to follow the order of operations within them. Inside those parentheses, I don't see any other parentheses, so no nested parentheses. I don't see any exponents inside the parentheses, because we still can't touch that 3 exponent yet. I don't see any multiplication division inside the parentheses, but I do see addition and subtraction. So I'm going to go from left to right. I'm going to start with addition. 2 plus 4, I underline, I evaluate, I rewrite. The only other operation inside that set of parentheses is another addition subtraction. So 6 minus 3, I underline, I evaluate, I rewrite. At this point, that set of parentheses is simplified down to one value. So all parentheses are done. We're done with P. Time to move on to E in PEMDAS, our exponent. So I'm not going to multiply 9 times 3. That's another common mistake. A lot of people just want to work on these problems from left to right. You need to follow the order of operations. So I'm going to underline 3 cubed. Again, this is a great calculator moment. Every time you underline an operation, that's a calculator moment. That's also a place to go back and check your individual steps to make sure or find out where you made an error. 3 cubed is going to give me 27. I underline, evaluate, and rewrite. That 9 in front of the parentheses, that 9 and 3 look like they're kind of next to each other, or the 9 in the parentheses. When two values, or eventually values and variables, are right next to each other, think like rabbits. 2 rabbits are next to each other, they're going to multiply. So 9 times 27 is how that could be rewritten. 9 times 27, I underline, I evaluate, and there's nothing to rewrite. That's my last operation. Now, if my answer was incorrect, I could go back to any one of those individual evaluating times. Those are all my calculator moments. I can go back, I can double check those. I can go back, I can double check that I underlined the right operation following the order of operations. I can make sure that I rewrote everything correctly. There are a lot of steps. The more steps, the more possible chances for error. On your own, give the other problem a try.